So let's just talk a little bit about DB11 and that journey unfolding. The first launch was obviously the DB11 V12 Coupe. We've now had joining that car to offer more choice to the customer, the DB11 V8, V8 powered DB11. Now that engine is a turbo-driven engine, of course, but unlike the Cologne engine that's supplied to us, from us, by us for the V12, the heart of this engine is the Daimler-Benz relationship. This is the 4-litre twin-turbo engine, but very much customised for Aston Martin, to Aston Martin, and by Aston Martin. So we'll have a little look at that. We've actually flown our very first DB11 V8 Coupe in, V8 powered Coupe, which is behind me here. And we'll have a look at those differences and talk a little bit about the characteristics that separate these two cars. The DB11 story will then unfold further from there when we look at the DB11 Volante, which will only be available in the V8 version, the V8 powered car. There will be no V12 Volante available. It is the V8 powered DB11 Volante that we'll see into 2018. So a very exciting time. I don't think there's been a more exciting time for Aston Martin, with a whole raft of motorsport events, successes and wins, and a really important 2018 coming up in the pinnacle of motorsport. So there's been so many exciting things and so many more exciting things to come. So how have we differentiated V8 powered DB11 from V12 DB11? Well, obviously it's a DB11, so very faithful to the overall look and styling of the car, but there are some little subtle differences, some key changes to make sure that people understand this is the V8 rather than the V12 version. Probably the most noticeable is the number of bonnet vents on the car, heat reduction and driving airflow through the car. On the DB11 V8 powered version of the car, we have 2. You'll see 4 on the V12 version. Small subtle change as well. In the headlight area here, we have black behind the lensing, which is silver in the V12 version. So if you see black there, we begin to know it's the V8 version of the car. Also, a third difference, which is very subtle and probably will win a pub quiz in terms of this one, the grille itself. If we come to the front of the grille here, the finishing on the grille here is slightly different. It's not edged and set in, it's a rounded finish to each grille slat that's there. The difference is really going to be in the driving dynamics, and that's really proven for me in the drive experience between the two. They are quite different. We have the power and the brutal power of the V12, that really fabulous long distance touring car, immense torque and horsepower at any point in time through the throttle. This car at 505 horsepower and 685 Newton meters of torque is an exceptional performance car as well, but slightly quicker in the turn-in. It's 115 kilograms lighter in this engine than in the V12. So let's have a little look under the bonnet and just see exactly how these two engines look differently. Okay, so this is the heart of the V8 powered DB11, a new engine for us, a turboed V8. Obviously, and we all know, supplied by Daimler-Benz, but very much customised by Aston Martin to make this a true Aston Martin and configured for this DB11. So just obviously the first observation is how far this engine sits back in the engine bay, almost under the front screen here, and low. So our centre of gravity is perfectly balanced against the weight distribution of this overall mass in the car. Very exciting to see the positioning of this, almost racing bred into me when I look here. Obviously you can see here the airflow, the intercoolers feeding the turbochargers on the inboard V8 to cool those. We have lowered the sump in this engine to be able to position the engine as it is sitting there today. And as I mentioned before, it's 115 kilos lighter than the V12 version. And I think a test drive in either will actually show which of the characteristics you enjoy, either the full torque and power of the V12 or the more nimble, perhaps, driving dynamics of the V8 version that we've got here. In terms of other changes that we've made, this has got an ECU from Aston Martin. It's only for the brain of this car, if you like, for this engine, for this car in this configuration. So it responds as an Aston should, as we've designed it to be as well. And there are changes through the acoustics of the exhaust system, again customised uniquely for DB11 and Aston Martin as well. So it breathes differently, it sounds very different. This is truly a V8 powered DB11 Aston Martin. Love you to come and join me, come for a drive and experience the differences between the two, and ultimately you choose.